Hey guys, welcome back to Stitching Up Trouble, podcast number 2. I am here with Mary. We hope you caught the first episode where we're trying to find our feet with this, but we are back. And how are you today, Miss Mary?
I am doing great today. I am back in my studio for the day. Got a few projects to work on, and I'm prepping the retreat for the next group that comes in.
Well, now that's a
it's a
good
beautiful day here.
question to start with here. So, for me to come to my studio, which is where I am every day, I'm not traveling. I just walk down the hall. For
Mhm.
you to go from where you live to your studio, you have to drive hour and a half.
About an hour and a half. Yeah, I live right in Atlanta, and my studio is up in Dahlonega. I do have a sewing room and a long arm at home. So but this is where I mainly work on client quilts and things like that. It's where most of my stash is. So it takes me about an hour and a half to get here, but it is on the same property as the retreat.
So,
So
and if you guys are just joining us for the first time, make sure you listen to the first podcast. We talk all about where Mary's retreat is, what is involved with it, and what it's like. Throughout the podcast, you're going to hear us talking a lot about the retreats because that is her bread and butter. And so let's just jump right in. So, how have you been since last week?
I have been good. I've made a lot of really good progress. I am still working on the quilts that I need to submit for the stripology certification. I have one completed, one on the quilter, and the blocks are all done for another one, and I'm assembling that one.
Oh, nice.
And then, yeah.
So, do
And
you
then
post these on Instagram that people can see them?
I have not posted them yet.
Okay. But what's your
So I do have
Instagram handle if you start posting stuff over there?
Coosa Mountain Lodge.
Oh, there you go. Goose Mountain Lodge. All right.
Try to keep
So
it
you're working
simple.
on quilts.
Hmm.
Same here. I've had the same quilt sitting on my table because I let everything else distract me. But all of my quilts have deadlines as well. So I
Hmm.
know they'll get done, whether it's at midnight or, leisurely through the week. They'll get done.
Yes.
So, so what else?
What else are you working on?
Well, I have a retreat on Thursday for I'm an aura philosopher, which you know, but they don't.
Hmm.
And I do lectures and workshops about aurifill threads and the different weights and how you use them. And
Hmm.
I have a group in Coolidge, which is about an hour from me here in Arizona. And we're going to do a mandala class, which is basically you start with you get a box, one of each weight. There's 6 or 7 weights in there, and you start in the middle of the mandala with the lightest weight, and we work our way out to the
Hmm.
the outermost part of the mandala. So you get to learn how to sew on your machine with thread weights from 80 to 12. So it's 80 weight, 50 weight, 40 weight, 28 weight, and 12 weight. So I had to get the kits made yesterday, and I had to get the sample done because that class is Thursday. So I did that. I have to stitch up a pair of moccasins today for our leather client, which is real leather.
Okay.
So I need to do a full video tutorial on how you take their moccasin kit and sew it up. And I am also doing a bunch of design work for some of the fabric companies. So kind of all over the place.
That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. So you taught the mandala class at Coosa Mountain Lodge. Was that a year ago?
And that was actually a different one because you guys did thread
Oh,
painting. So, oh,
okay.
here, they can't see it, but you can. This is what they're doing.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So
Yes.
basically, this is line art. It's a line art of mandala. And when you
Okay.
draw with markers, this is where the idea came from. Was you draw with markers, you have different weights of pen tips to create
Hmm.
depth and definition. So I thought, well, we'll do the create the same depth with thread. So in the very middle is 80 weight thread. I don't know how well I can see. You can
Right.
see that,
Yeah,
and
a
then you can
lot
see on
lighter.
the outer it gets very thick. That's 12 weight wool
Yes.
thread. So the whole idea is a lot of people only know how to use one weight of thread, 50
Right.
weight
Yeah.
or maybe even 40 weight. But if you know how to change all this, the bobbin and your needle, you can
Mm-hmm.
use all kinds of weights in your machine with very little effort.
Right.
So,
Yes.
so that's Thursday, but I have to get up very, very early for that one because I'm not staying there. So I have to get up, load the
Gotcha.
car, and get out.
Oh,
So, yeah.
no wonder you like Kusa better.
I do. Kusa Lodge, I just roll out in my pajamas and I can start class. So it's like the biggest pajama party when we do a retreat at Kusa. So.
It really is. Yeah.
Oh, and so that's the other thing I need to do. I need to finish getting your bag made for the November retreats. And I need
Yes.
to get you the photographs, but I need to actually make the sample. So that's on my list too. But she's going to Ireland.
I
Not
am.
really
I
in the
leave on
right.
Thursday.
So
I leave on Thursday for a week with some quilting friends.
that's gonna be so much fun.
I am very excited. I'm very excited. This is a great group of ladies. I met them all at the lodge. I don't think I knew any of them before I opened the retreat. So this
How many
is
are there? How many of you are
there.
going?
7 total.
Oh,
There'll be 7
7.
of
I was
us.
like 3 or
Yeah,
4. Wow.
there'll be 7 of us.
So do you have
So
someone in the group that like can look for fun shops that creative people will want to go to, or is it going to be more touristy stuff?
I think it's going to be a mix. We've got some tours scheduled, and but we've also got a lot of free time scheduled, like in Killarney and in Dublin, and so we'll be able to do a little bit of research. We looked for quilt shops. There's not really quilt shops per se in Ireland, but I think
Well, I could
we'll
tell
be
you look for haberdasheries
okay.
because haberdasheries will have fabric in it. Unfortunately, especially in Europe, a lot of their fabric is coming from the States. So then
Yeah,
you get over there, you're so excited, you see it, and then it's like $10 more than we pay here a yard or something. But I
yeah.
did find, I don't even remember which one it was. I think it was Nice in France, and
Hmm.
I couldn't find. And if someone said, "Oh, look up haberdashery," and they had buttons and fabrics and kits, and they had a lot of stuff that was local. So,
Okay.
but in Ireland, you
Yeah.
might be able to find some really pretty lace too.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure
So
you'll find lots of treasures.
I will definitely bring some things back because I'm packing one of those collapsible suitcase, the little duffels
Right.
in my suitcase
Yeah.
just in case I shop and
Just in
I think
case. I don't know. I'm probably more of a shopper than you. Well, while you're in Ireland, I actually have my best friend from college coming out, and she's going to spend 2 weeks with me here.
awesome.
And what you just said reminded me because she has one of her businesses is reselling. So
Okay.
she found out she can bring 2 full 70-pound suitcases free on her flight because she's going first
Wow.
class, and she's bringing them empty. So she's planning. We'll be doing a lot of thrifting
Nice.
and but I got her hooked on sashiko. So here's a
Nice.
person who's she's not a quilter, she's not a sewer, she's not anything. And
Hmm.
sashiko, for anyone listening who doesn't know, is Japanese embroidery. It's very easy. It's very I was gonna say mind numbing. It's not mind numbing. It puts you in a good
Mind
mindset.
it's mind calming.
Mind
It's a
calming.
calming, yeah.
So
It's
I
a
got
very
her
relaxing.
started on that, and she has just taken off. So I may be able to get her to go to some craft stores as well.
Oh, I love
So
that. I love that.
yeah. So okay. So you're going to be gone. Do you think
A
we'll do
week.
a podcast while you're in Ireland, or do you think you're just going to enjoy your trip?
I will probably just enjoy my trip.
Okay. So you'll tell
Because
us
of
about it
the
when you get back. Yeah.
yes. I think the time difference from you to Dublin is pretty big. So
I don't know. I keep strange hours. So my life
well,
is such deadline driven that I
yeah.
don't even need an alarm clock, and we're coming into a pretty intense time of things that need to get ready for H&H. So
Hmm.
H&H is a big wholesale trade show that we're doing in May. I'm walking the show. So when I say that, people always assume we have a booth.
Right.
And because all of the people there are my clients, I don't have a booth. But everybody wants samples. So I don't even need an alarm clock. I will start getting up now at 4:30, five
Okay.
o'clock in the morning and just
Wow.
start
Yeah.
because I just found out yesterday, one of our clients, we agreed to do one quilt it's a company in London, and they decided, oh, well, we're already sending you a box of fabric, so here, can you do one or two more? And so it's
Great.
kind of like you don't really get to say yes or no. It just shows up.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I think
Yeah.
between now and May, I have 11 quilts to get made.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
And I was whining about the 3 I had to do, and I have patterns for those.
well, we now have patterns, but yeah. So for H&H, we've
Mhm.
got I think 5 or 6 for them. I don't know if you knew I'm doing a presentation at H&H.
I didn't know that. When are you
Or
doing? When?
well, QT Fabrics asked me if I would do a talk there, and I said sure. What do you want me to talk about? And they're like Minky, which I have a love hate relationship with Minky. I don't know
Yeah.
how you feel about Minky, but I love to touch it. I hate to sew with it.
I don't mind quilting with it.
Mhm.
It stitches up really nicely.
Mhm.
You know, you have to be careful with it not to stretch it too much,
Mhm.
or when you take it off the frame, the whole quilt kind of goes like that.
Right.
Um, but
Have
it
you
looks
actually
really nice.
sewn with it though, like pieced with it?
No,
Yeah.
no,
And see the
God,
thing.
no.
So there's a couple things. One is every brand is different. So there's Snuggle, and then
It's,
there's Minky. Snuggle and Minky are the two manufacturers. There's only really
mhm,
two that I know of right now. I could be wrong, but for the longest time there was two.
mhm.
And one is stretchier than the other, much
Yes.
stretchier.
Hmm.
But if you know that and you know a few tips, you can sew with it easy. My issue is I'm like a little OCD, and when I do minky projects, I need to then clean my whole studio because that minky dust
Oh yeah.
goes everywhere.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
everywhere,
So
everywhere. That's bad.
yeah, and
But
there's some tricks on that as well, like
mhm,
how to cut it without it blowing up all over the place. But um,
yeah.
so yeah, I'll be doing a talk. I don't know which stage I'm on about minky, how to sew with it,
Okay.
which means I
Well,
have to
I'll look
make
for
those
that while
samples.
I'm here. Pardon?
So I have to make those samples.
Oh, fun.
And the other thing I'm demoing at H&H is there's a company called Bella Crafts Publications. They do all the really nice artsy uh, sewing and jewelry magazines. They're like,
Ah.
and my leather client, I just was like, I wonder if you could crochet with leather cording. It was just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can crochet with leather cording. Well, then Bella heard about it and she's like, well, do you want a demo in the booth and show people how they can crochet or macrame or use leather cording? So I will be doing a demo on that as well. So that's how I get in trouble. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Yeah, I get in trouble. Oh, yeah, sure, I can do that. Sure, no
Right.
problem.
Right.
Well, I'll have it done for you by next week.
Sure.
Not a problem. Okay.
So yeah, so there's a lot going on over here. There's definitely a lot going on. But so
Good.
and you will be at H&H, so you'll get to go
I will.
see some of that stuff.
I
Um,
am very excited for
and
it. I am.
I probably shouldn't ask in the podcast, but I can always take it out. Are you rooming with us?
I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Because if you've got the suite, then you've got the extra bed for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I don't have to
Worry
bunk
about it.
with the people that I'm driving with.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
So,
so yeah, so this will be our second trip. Like we obviously are at the lodge and we spend the night,
yeah,
we're together for days at a time. But
yeah.
on our last trip, she went to market with me, quilt market in the fall, and
Yeah.
stayed with me. And Mary she's so generous and so sweet. But somehow, if you make eye contact with her, you want to give her everything. And I will say to
That's
her
probably
defense,
true.
it's not really like she doesn't always ask. It's just like she just sort of looks at you and you're like, here you go. So, um, so Mary came and I had already been there for a couple of days and she showed up and um, the very first morning we go down to breakfast and Mary's like, she doesn't run in that same circle that I run into. So this was your first quilt market, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and so she doesn't. It's not like when I go to quilt market, I've been going for 25 years. You know everybody. So we go down to breakfast, and Mary's like, yeah, I don't really know anyone here. And this woman comes running up to her and basically offered her the t-shirt off her back. Apparently Mary had met her at some point and had made a comment about the t-shirt at a different time, not on this trip. And the lady saw her. And so that's kind of Mary in a nutshell. So,
yeah. Well, to be fair, I had given her a Coosa Mountains t-shirt.
And so this was
when I met her a few weeks before. So,
right. But it was just funny that you had
owes me
literally
one.
just finished telling me, I don't know anyone here. And then this woman comes over, oh my God, I got to give you my t-shirt. And I'm like, okay. But that's how it is to kind of run with Mary. The other thing with
Yeah.
Mary is that she plants a seed quietly and watches it bloom. So in our last podcast, we told you we would tell you the elevator story. So I'm going to tell it, and Mary can interject as needed. But so we are at this hotel, and it's very crowded. And at the hotel, they offer happy hour every night. So we now have learned that when they offer happy hour, don't go early or go late, because the elevators are packed. I mean, not a soul can get in those elevators. So here's Mary and I in the elevator with, I don't know, 20 other souls.
Yeah, we were on like the 9th or 10th floor. Like,
Right.
we were pretty high up in the hotel.
Right.
So we got on the elevator, no problem.
And then as we hit each floor, people were filling in because they were all wanted to go to that free happy hour. So Mary ended up at the back of the elevator, and I ended up by the keypad up at the front. And the elevator starts stopping at floors and opening at every floor, and nobody else can get on the elevator because it's full. And I hear this little voice in the back of the elevator go, next time the doors open, we should all yell surprise. This is Mary, very quietly telling 20 strangers, this is a great idea and we should do this. And I'm up at the keypad going, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And so the elevator opens up the next floor. There's this poor older lady standing there, and the entire elevator yells surprise at this woman that we're lucky she didn't fall over. And all they can hear in the back is Mary giggling.
Yeah. Well, I knew I had them when the elevator stopped and somebody said, okay, 3, 2, 1. I was like, yes.
So when you do come to a retreat with Mary, first of all, don't make direct eye contact. You will want to give her everything. And number 2 is she will be the quiet one in the back planting the seeds, and we will all be the ones that do whatever it is she suggests. She should work for the government. She's got like these superpowers here. So
maybe I do.
Oh, maybe you do. Oh, good point.
Maybe I do. No, I don't.
Is there a quilting division of the government that we don't know about?
There should be.
The quilting police. Maybe they really exist.
No. Oh, that's scary.
That would be scary. Because I'm sure I'd be the wanted poster in the back for not following the rules.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
there are 2 ways to do quilts: the way that I do them and the right way.
There is no right way.
Well,
that's what I teach. I teach is like done is better than perfect.
There you go.
If you can figure out a way to do it better than me, those are the people who continue to write books and go forward. And
there you go. Yeah.
So that is the elevator story. There were other adventures on that trip. It was only like 2 days.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how things roll at H&H, and it should be very, very fun. That is a big, big show. You went to Quilt Market, and that is like a fraction of the size of H&H. And H&H is growing more every year. Unfortunately,
I'm excited to go. I'm excited to go because I met some potential teachers for the lodge at Quilt Market, but I would also like to see what I can bring back from H&H and see if there's other seminars and retreats and classes and stuff that I can offer from there. So I'm just excited to go see what's out there and what's new and exciting. And
that would be a good thing for people to put in the comments. You know, I am not the only teacher in the world. So like if there are people that you've learned from that you think is a really great experience as a class, because not all teachers are created equal, leave it in the comment. Let Mary know.
Yeah,
Obviously there's the top tier of names that
correct.
everybody knows.
All the well known. Yeah,
Right.
but
The ones that have
and
the
if there's
marketing.
and if there's techniques that you want to learn,
Hmm.
Heidi
Yeah.
is really good at learning what I want to learn and then teaching it to me. So,
Though I still owe you tatting. I went and took a tatting class just to teach tatting, and then I didn't teach anyone tatting. So,
well,
but yeah, so
we'll
that's the
do
thing.
that.
Like, I consider myself kind of like, what's the word I want? I just love to learn to create.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter
Hmm.
if it's sewing, painting, air dry clay. I mean, you name it. If it's a new material and a new thing, I want to know it. So I don't know what if I was an art teacher in my past life or what the heck the deal is, but so like when I brought on the leather client, I was supposed
Hmm.
to just managing their people. I wasn't supposed to have to
Right,
learn how to do leather
right.
working or anything. And I'm like, I have all the stuff. I'm like so excited to start tooling leather.
Hmm.
Why do I need to tool leather?
Because it's there.
It's there.
This
So
is this is how we get in trouble.
yes, yes. Well, and
This
so
is why.
that's kind of how I will mix things. So like
Mhm.
he gave me sheets of leather and a hole punch like gadget thing and stamp punches, and I'm like, I could punch the holes in the leather and then do hand embroidery with thread on leather. So that's like, I don't know if anyone else wants to do it, but that's what I want to do. I want to like mix stuff up. So
Hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's why your classes are so valuable because you can learn one technique and apply it to,
something else.
whatever hobby that you're already doing.
Right.
So,
Right.
if you're quilting and you can embellish with some hand embroidery or, um, if you have a project, you can quilt using the sashiko method or, you
Right.
know,
Well,
there's a lot of different applications.
we're going to be doing fabric jewelry at
Hmm.
your retreat in February. So again, if
Hmm.
anyone's interested in retreats, reach out to Coosa Mountain Lodge. The information will be below. But the February, what we do at these retreats when I come, and we keep saying we're going to do one thing, but we end up doing something else. We always teach a quilt with the kit, and the kits are included in your price, which I
Hmm.
think is wonderful that they pay one price and the kits are there. Um, so we always do a quilt project, and that's like the
Hmm.
big project. But then we have in the past done two smaller projects.
Right.
And we are trying to go down to one smaller project just so you guys don't get overwhelmed. Um,
Hmm.
so for February, we're going to be doing a quilt called Color Blast. It's using a layer cake. I'm going
Hmm.
to show you guys all my favorite techniques for piecing. But then the smaller class is fabric jewelry, which is a combination. I was learning how to do jewelry making and silversmithing, and I did lampwork bead making. And I was really getting burnt out doing quilts. I was tired of doing quilts, and I was like, I have all this fabric. What am I going to do with it? So I got the idea of what happens if you take fabric and turn it into jewelry, but don't. There's different levels of fabric jewelry. So there is fabric jewelry that looks like it's fabric.
Hmm.
My goal was to make jewelry with fabric that didn't look like it was fabric. I wanted it to
Gotcha.
look like you walked into a museum store and you saw it, and then someone goes, "Oh yeah, that's fabric," and you're like, "Really? How did that happen?" So I wrote a book and Nancy Zeman invited me to shoot a DVD with her when she was with us. She was the nicest human I think I've ever met. And so that's an example of where I've taken one product and moved it into
Right.
another.
Yeah.
And so when we come to the camp, we're going to be doing, I call them domino beads. They're layered with seed beads in between them. They're really fun to make, and you can do necklaces and bracelets and stuff. So that's kind of what
Hmm.
we do. And then the last couple, we've had a third project, which was a smaller sewing project, a bag or something. And
Hmm.
every time we do it, we say we're going down to two, and then we
Yeah.
end up
We have
adding
too
with
many
it.
ideas.
Yeah. So
Too
Mary
many
had a great
ideas.
idea last time about doing a boot camp, right?
Yeah. So there's been some interest by some new people in techniques that you had taught in some of the earlier retreats.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of like having one retreat where we do three things,
Mm-hmm.
we'll do the main retreat with two projects
Mm-hmm.
and then an optional add-on day. Um, and it'll be some of the ones we're going to repeat some of the ones that we had already done so that new people can catch up and learn
Mm-hmm.
the thread painting or the sashiko or English paper piecing. So we'll add in a day either before or after, depending on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be an additional day not included in the main cost of the retreat.
Right. And that can be for locals that are there,
Correct.
or people
Correct.
who are in the main retreat can add the extra day on. I was actually thinking about it because usually we do it. I come up Wednesday and we teach. I don't usually start Wednesday, but depending on the group, sometimes we have. But
Yeah.
usually I teach all day Thursday, all day Friday, and I teach usually
Right.
Thursday night. So it's like 36
Right.
hours of
Yep.
teaching. And then we usually leave on Saturday. But if we did the boot camp day on Saturday, and now
Mm-hmm.
you have two buildings. So if the other building
Correct.
isn't marked out, you could do the day camp on a Saturday for people who work. And if people
Correct.
from the retreat want to go, they could go do that. So there'll probably always be three projects. It's just how you lay them out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we're very excited for November. We are going to be doing a bag with these aluminum pipe handles that snaps open to stay open. A very simple bag that Mary will love to make. We will offer two versions. One that's simply
I
just
I
piece ever.
think me loving to make it is a little overstating it.
Oh, you'll get there.
I'll tolerate it.
You'll get
I'm not a bag maker, but
there.
that's
Yes,
okay.
but you've made two bags with me,
Uh-huh.
and she
Yes,
made them. She even made an
I
additional bag for Dana. So,
I did.
so yeah, so you're getting there. So we'll be doing that, and then we're going to be doing a quilt with my new Splish Splash line from Island Boutiques, and that one we're going to learn how to do 2 peaks and 1 triangles.
Hmm.
I don't remember if there's kitty corner triangles, so it's more like we call it an intermediate pattern, but if you take the class, even if you're a beginner, you're going to make them. It's not going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's certainly not
Yeah.
like doing like a Lone Star quilt with diamonds that everything has to
Yeah.
point up.
That quilt, I've shown it to a couple of people, and they have said that it's very similar to a Storm at Sea.
Yes, very
It kind of
similar.
gives that look, but it's not a Storm at Sea block.
Actually, it might be.
No, it's not. I said it's not, so it's not.
Okay. Well, did I ever tell you the Storm at Sea block story? So my
No.
very, very first design job, which is a story in itself, but my first design job with a fabric company, they gave me a month to design 2 quilts. And I'm like, I literally had only made 2 quilts at this point. I really didn't know a lot about designing quilts, but I was like, I'm a designer and I'm learning to quilt. So why not try mixing them? I spent a couple weeks with graph paper and a pencil, and I worked at a quilt shop at that point, and I came up with this amazing block. I was so proud of the block. And I walk into the quilt shop and I'm like, look at this block I designed for the fabric companies. And the one lady looked at it, she goes, oh, that's Storm at Sea. I was like, really? So then I went out and I bought Barbara Brockman's Encyclopedia to Quilt Blocks. Like literally that day I got that book because I'm like, I will never spend all that time
Right.
designing something that's already been designed. Now, that being said, I've probably done that and not realized it, but that time it was pretty obvious that, maybe do a little research.
Oops.
Yeah, but it's still one of my favorite blocks ever to make.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, all right. So,
Me too.
that's about 30 minutes.
That is about 30
It
minutes.
is.
Um,
Should we end with our retreat tips? Or do you have more?
yeah,
The retreat. Okay.
yeah.
So Mary and I were talking about retreat tips. Can you hear that?
Hmm.
Okay. Well, we'll just wait till
Just muffled in the background a little bit. Yeah.
That's okay. I can cut this part out. That's the beauty of, I mean, I have to re-listen to everything we said. Okay. All right. So, let's talk about our retreat tips. Mary and I were talking at the beginning. We both have like our top 3 tips on either going to a retreat, the before, the during, or the after. So any part of it. So I'm springing this on Mary, but what are your 3 tips for retreats, and what department? Like, is it for packing while you're
Okay.
there or after you
Okay.
leave?
So I think mine are all before you go. And so one good tip is to be selective about what projects you're going to bring. There's 2 different thoughts on this. Some people bring projects that are ones that they're kind of stuck on or are more difficult so that they can get some help for them, or they're kind of forced to just work on that project. Because, like me, I'm in my sewing room, I can do 20 different things and just like avoid the difficult project. So bring that one project that you're working on or need help with. My strategy is to bring projects that you don't have to think about. A lot of chain piecing. So be selective about what you're bringing. If you have to think a lot and pay attention to what you're doing, that can be really hard at a retreat because you're also visiting and there's a lot going on and it's easy to get distracted. So I would suggest bringing the simpler projects. That being said, I would also, tip number 2 is to have at least 1 or 2 projects fully cut out before you come. So that way you can start sewing right away. If you have to cut while you're there, that's something you have to think more about. And it's also, depending on where you're going and who you're going with, you might have to wait for a cutting table or cutting space. So,
And cutting, that is where you can make the most mistakes. So if you can do it at
exactly.
home where it's quiet,
Exactly.
that's going to make your life so much easier than at the
Yes.
retreat.
Yeah. And then tip number 3, make sure that you have your power cord and your foot pedal.
Yes.
Um,
Even the teacher has forgotten hers on occasion.
yeah. And, put a little, so I used to go on a lot more retreats. I can't really justify going on a lot of retreats anymore because I own a retreat. But I had a travel bag set up with basic sewing supplies.
Mhm.
So I had my home sewing supplies and then I had my travel sewing supplies. And if you can set up a go bag with your to go supplies, thread, scissors, rotary cutter, extra blades, pins, clips, those kinds of things. Get like your basic sewing supplies in a kit that you don't touch at home. And then when you go to retreat, you have all the stuff you need. So those are my 3.
Those are very good ones. You stole my last one, but anyway. That's the thing. Like, even myself, I overestimate how much time I'm going to do something at a camp, and I overpack projects. So that's definitely, those are all excellent tips. Okay, so mine are, one is, if you, not that everyone does, but if you have multiple sewing machines, pick the one that's right for what you're doing. If you have the $10,000 monstrosity with the embroidery modules and all of that stuff, and you're just going to straight sew for the weekend, maybe bring a featherweight or something smaller. Because I see too many times people coming into these classes and camps, and their machines are way more powerful than what they need, and they're very large, and you got to store the bags, and your neighbors get upset because there's so much, you only have so much table space. So pick the right machine for the type of sewing you're going to do that weekend. Like when we go on retreats, if I know I'm going to be doing bags and stuff, I will bring my Bernina because I can do multiple stitches and I have different feet. But if I'm just going to be sitting there, like Mary said, chain sewing and straight stitching, I would bring my featherweight. But whatever machine you bring, make sure you run a maintenance on it before you take it. Make sure you have got it oiled before you take it and bring your oil with you. Because there's nothing worse than getting to the camp and you have your retreat machine that you haven't turned on in 6 months and it will not turn on. So that would be number one. Number two is label your stuff. Don't count on the retreat place to have your special ruler. I don't know. I'm kind of a ruler snob and I like one particular ruler. So if you know the retreat place you're going to and you know they already have all their rulers and rotary cutters, great. But if you're going to bring any of your own stuff, just label it or mark it, or you can just take nail polish and put a little dot somewhere on the ruler. Because I know, like, especially rulers, you don't want to obscure the numbers. But make sure your stuff is labeled. Make sure you have a scissor fob on your scissors. There's so many people that have the same tools because we all love the same stuff. So
a lot of people will put their address labels on their stuff, which is a clever idea.
Yeah. And easy because you got the little sticker. So that was number two. Number three is I'm going to circle back around to your last one because that was my favorite, is the go bag for sewing and quilting. Especially, I have two. I have one when I go to a personal retreat, like Mary, that has everything in it. And the rule of the go bag is you do not take anything out of the bag while you're at home. But I want to go a little further. One is I do have a video that I'll link below about what I put in my travel bag. So if you want more details, you can go check that out. But two is when you come back from the retreat, before you put it away, go through it. Make sure you don't need to put in a new pair of sharper scissors. Just make sure you got your pins back. Just kind of do a cleanup before you put the bag away, because you're not going to remember when you pull it out for the next retreat that, oh crap, I ran out of white thread. Like I always have, in mine, I always have neutral threads. And then if I have a special project, I put that thread with the project. Like I have all my projects in bags with all the stuff I need. But it just double check when you get home that everything is restocked and ready to roll for your next one. But that is the best advice you could give someone who does a lot of retreats, is have a bag ready to go. Yeah. Because I don't know about you, but I hate packing for these things. I love going, but I hate packing.
Yeah. And then I hate unpacking when I get home. It takes weeks for me to unpack. So
see, I bite the bullet and do it right away so that I don't have to think about it. But that's also when I check the bag and make sure. Yeah. I do the same thing with my toiletries. Same philosophy. Make sure I have shampoo for my next trip.
Smart.
Well,
as somebody with a trip coming up, that might be a good idea.
Well, then, because when you're ready to pack for the trip, all you got to think about are your clothes. Like if everything else is, so I do that. Now, granted, I travel this year, not as much as last year. Last year, I think the longest I was home at any one time was 4 weeks, which was insane. But then you learn the tricks. You do learn the tricks.
Right. So. Exactly.
So I guess
would think with as much traveling as I've done, I would have learned.
You do like this international crap. I'm just like in the States. I don't even really get to go anywhere fun. I'm not going to Ireland.
Well, I have my passport, I have my phone, and I have my credit card.
Everything else can be bought.
I'm good to go.
Okay. So on that note, I think, for a second podcast, this is pretty good.
I think so.
I hope you guys are enjoying this as we settle in and get a little more of a flow to it. And I hope you're entertained. That is our goal, is to educate, entertain, and inspire, I think. At least that's mine. So, Mary, you have a grand time in Ireland. We can't wait to hear about it. And
thank you.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
All right. Behave while I'm gone.
No. Bye.
Bye.